Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today, any of our fantastic listeners. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And thank you for joining us on Introduction to Auditioning Online Self-Tapes. I'm joined today here with the most amazing Daniel John of Daniel John Casting. And if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and thank you so much for being here.
Not at all. It's an absolute pleasure. So I run an actors agency in Teesside, and we look after actors predominantly in the Northeast, but we do have some in London and in Leeds and Manchester. So my day-to-day work is submitting actors for castings. And then on the weekend, we run an actors training platform, which is the DJW School of Acting. And that's, it's like a part-time in-house acting diploma that we run. And then obviously what we do is we try and train up our actors to get them ready for the eventuality of putting them forward for roles in theatre, television, film, commercials, radio, that sort of thing. So yeah, the online world has grown massively.
Amazing. It completely has. It's been completely revolutionized with COVID, 100%. I think actually this workshop will be incredibly valuable for all kinds of members of Durham University community. We're kind of particularly aiming at it at kind of theatre students, at people, you know, who are thinking of acting, but I mean also it's kind of for musicians as well, who might be submitting a tape as a musician to be in the orchestra or in the choir. And even I think the skills learned here are applicable for people, you know, interviewing as well in terms of the new online world. And I'm hoping I'll pick up a few tips as well.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And I think in the face of adversity, we have to try and find opportunity. And I can find so many opportunities with the online thing. And I'll start very quickly just by saying that through lockdown alone, so we went into lockdown on the 16th of March until literally September the 1st. And I didn't really see anybody, not even my parents, you know, and yet I managed to secure quite a hefty amount of online auditions with some of the biggest casting directors this business has to offer. And one of the things that we sort of learned very quickly was how easy it is to now be put in front of some of the biggest names in the business without actually leaving your home. And so for me, one of the first things I did actually around about the 14th of March, 2 days before we went into lockdown, I went to PC World and bought myself a load of kit because I knew what was coming. I was like, actually, do you know what? Everything's going to move online. I mean, I've got three, you can't see it, but I have three Macs in front of me. I have my iPhone, I have an iPad, like everything is just technology now. But the one great thing is you don't have to travel and spend, you know, last minute train tickets. I've had to spend £200 before getting to London, and that's theatre as well. To spend 15 minutes in a room with somebody who they meet you for 10 seconds and they already know that you're not right. You can be the most talented person that day, but if you don't look right and you don't present yourself right, then you don't get the job. So I think I can't see this slowing down, actually. I can't see, certainly for the foreseeable future, I think it's going to become very much a world of Zoom and self-tapes and show reels, and I think it wouldn't be a silly idea to invest in a little bit of kit, actually. And I'll speak about kit in a moment. And I think the great thing is not the most important thing of today for me is to get across. Please do not be afraid of technology, because and when I was first asked to do this chat, there was a very small part of me that said, I said to my partner, I don't know whether I'm the right person because I'm not like a techno savvy guy, but I'm techno enough to be able to send a self tape, and really that's all you need. And I think, you know, the amount of people that say to me, like, I've never done a self-tape, like, what do you have to do? It's terrifying. And yeah, I think it's a little daunting to do something new, but you certainly shouldn't be afraid of the technology aspect, because it is actually relatively straightforward once you know, just like anything, you know, everything's difficult until you know how. So I aim to sort of give you my version of how you send a self-tape. But one of the most important things is really what's within that self-tape. That for me is the most crucial point. And yes, there will be some technical elements that I'm going to explain, and it might feel like a big jumble, but I will also send you a PDF of basically everything that I'm going to be talking about. So feel free to share that. And I know we were talking a little earlier, and I am more than happy to have your guys send me self-tapes, and I will happily review them, and I will tell you if there's anything that I would do differently. Please don't take it too personal if it's not necessarily something that I like necessarily. It's all subjective. And at the end of the day, if you've successfully sent me a self-tape, that's part of the problem solved.
Yeah, I think that's very, very generous and very kind offer. For anyone listening at this minute, we will put that email and the details as well as the PDF attached to the link of this video. So if you also hit the end of this video, I'll make sure that I also put the email address down as well. So you will find that once you get to the end of the video. So
amazing. Good stuff. So I think I'm going to be sharing my screen with you as well to show you a couple of things. But I wanted to just sort of start from the very, very top. If you don't have an agent, some of the things that I'm going to say to you may not necessarily apply. So you just have to sort of use your initiative and think, oh, well, obviously I don't have an agent, so that bit doesn't apply to me. But generically, everything that I'm going to say applies to everybody that's sending in a self-tape, to anybody, to a casting director, a producer, an agent, it doesn't matter. And like I said a little earlier, I can only tell you how I would do it. And the way that I do it is really straightforward. It's really easy. The majority of it can be done on your mobile phone. Me, my little girl. Now, what I tend to do is, and I have done it in the past if I've been out of office, you can actually just upload it straight to Vimeo or WeTransfer and send it. You can literally do it all from your mobile phone. But I also want to talk to you about doing it from your computer, a laptop. I have a Mac, like I said earlier, but it's not too dissimilar to a laptop, PC laptop. But I don't know, does anybody use them anymore? I don't even know whether do people still buy them? I don't know. So what I was going to do is I'm just going to share my screen, my desktop. Okay, that should have worked. Okay, sorry, I've got far too many things open here. So I've got you guys. I've got a little assembly rooms folder. But what I wanted to do is get you to here. Okay, so the first and most important thing is you are going to send a self-tape, so you will need something to record it on. That can be a camera, a camcorder, or it can be your mobile phone. Always film against a white background, wherever possible. Now, obviously, a lot of casting directors ask for the same thing, but I think when we say white, we just mean plain. Anything with like flowers and, you know, wallpaper, or if there's posters in the background, this would be terrible for a self-tape. And so you need to find a really nice, plain, clear wall. And always make sure that the light is in front of you, not above you, not behind you. And wherever possible, and this is depending on how good a quality you want the self-tape to be. I'm not a major fan of orange light. I think you've probably seen it click on that orange light. That's a preference for me, but also if you were to go out and buy yourself, I just did a bit of research this morning, they're like 15, £20. They're like makeup lights. I haven't actually got mine with me at the moment. They're round makeup lights. They're like 15, 20 quid. And they just make your face look so bright, and it's like a natural light rather than the orange tint. So it's really good to use something like a forward light so that your face is lit. But also try not to stand too close to the back of the wall. So don't have your back to the wall. Try and stand a little bit in front of it, maybe a meter, half a meter if possible. And try not to cast too much of a big shadow behind you either. And here's the thing, if you're really talented, the shadow on the wall will not matter. But I want to give you the best fighting chance, because if it's between you and somebody else, and you're both really talented, but someone's self-tape just looks that little bit crisper, it's very likely that they're going to get the call for a recall, and you wouldn't. So I want to make sure that you've got the best possible chance for that recall, or indeed to get the contract sent through to work. So, like I say, I have got a self-tape guide here that I will send, but I'm going to sort of go through it with you at the same time. Find good lighting, we've talked about that. No external noises, that's a huge one. So like your dogs, your washing machine, music, your parents talking in the other room, ask people to leave. You know, this is a really, you wouldn't do a singing demo while someone was cutting the lawn outside. You need it to be nice and quiet, so that only your voice can be heard. Same with clothing. Like I have this little Adidas top on, but I would never show that logo. Always try and keep it very neutral, unless they've asked you specifically to dress in character. Then you can go wild, you know, do whatever you like. It's the same with hair and makeup. I always feel that, like, someone will send me a headshot and they look absolutely beautiful, male or female. And I'm like, wow, how striking. They fit the role perfectly. And then when they turn up, I don't recognize them because they're not the same as their headshot. Well, it's the same with the self-tape. Whatever you are when you're at your best without going too far, that's the version we need to see. So, you know, I don't mind a bit of a morning hair, and a little bit of makeup is fine. But I just think once you start going into that, you know, lots of heavy eye makeup and lips, too much. Makeup is, I've just done that. Hair. The big one is filming landscape, filming that way, not that way. The amount of times I get actors send me self-tapes that have been sent that way, it's got to be landscape. And the reason for that is because once it gets uploaded onto my computer, when I am watching the video in landscape, it fills my entire screen. If it's the other way, my entire screen is filled with black, but then there's just a little video in the middle. That's what we want to try and avoid, that, because we want to try and punch your face out into my screen as much as possible, as though I can touch it. Always as flat on as possible, so straight ahead. Try not to have your camera on an angle looking up or looking down. And I think I've found a couple of examples which I will show you in a moment. It just sends, you don't get a real sense of your facial shape. You know, if you look underneath, you'll see my double chin. It's the last thing I want anyone to be looking at. You know, so we have to have it nice and flat, right in front of you. If you can get somebody to film it for you, that's great, but they've got to be really still. Try and keep the camera as still as possible. But you can get a little tripod. You know, I was at Curry's in March. I think it was like £15. This little device here. It's a little tripod. It's actually used so that you can do vlogging. I don't know if you can see that there. And this is just my little Canon 600D. I use this all the time for various things. And then it just sort of comes out as a little tripod like this. Now, I have done self-tapes on this, but the process is a little bit lengthier, but the quality is the best. You simply can't beat doing a self-tape on one of these. If you were to do it on your mobile phone, the quality is good, but not quite as good. And I will show you an example of that in a moment. Speak directly to the camera when you are introducing yourselves. Hi, my name's Daniel John Williams. I'm represented by DJW Talent, and I'm based in Middlesbrough. Today, I will be self-taping for whatever it is you're self-taping for, and then you do profiles. And so everything is done to camera until you get to the point where you do profiles, which is where you turn to the side so they can see what you look like that side, just in case you've got any scars or anything that they need to be aware of. Maybe you have a wonky ear, I don't know. And then you look the other side. You probably do that for like 3 to 5 seconds either side. If you are applying for a commercial, one of the big ones is front of hands, back of hands. And that's just to see, I bite my nails, so I would be terrible for commercials. But they're just checking to see for tattoos, for any scratches, for any scarring. They're looking for, do you bite your nails? So you've done your profiles, and that's what they're called, profiles. And then when you start to perform, whether it be a monologue, whether it be a song, a dance, whatever it is, make sure that when you're doing your introduction, that you're really clear. You can be seen perfectly, and then you can afford to step it back a little. So you can move the camera back slightly, or ask the person to move back, so that when you're performing, you can actually be seen. So it's not just your head like this. One of the other things that a lot of casting directors ask, and I would say that I've done the same actually, is full body. So you can do all of your introduction like this. You do your profiles, and then you will be doing yourself a favor if you do a full shot of your entire body, including like down to your toes. You don't have to show them your toes, but just be in the entire frame. And then this is when you would start to perform. But when you perform, don't look into the camera. Just look to the side. And the reason for that is because when we watch television and film, we watch them like they're speaking to another character. And so we want to give the illusion that you're actually in a scene rather than presenting. Same with song. I'm not a fan of singers sending me self-tapes where they're singing into the mic, into the camera. I'm more interested in, even if it's just slightly to the right, and off you go. It's always recommended that you have somebody read the other lines if it's an audition where you're not doing a monologue, and in fact you're doing a duologue or you're part of the scene. Ask your person, whoever it is that's with you, mum, dad, friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, to not stand too close to the camera when they're speaking, because it will just totally outweigh anything that you're doing. So they've got to stand back nice and still, and they can have, they'll have their script there, and they've just got to make sure that they're not too close to this, because it'll just drown out anything that you're doing. And don't use someone who's very talented, use someone who's terrible, because then it makes you look even better. That's a true story. So you speak directly to the camera when introducing yourself. We've covered that. You say your name, your age, your agent, location, the project name sometimes. So if it was for BBC Doctors, like I've just done recently, I would have to mention that as well. You would perform the piece, and once it's performed, that's it. You've locked it in. And this is where it gets really complicated, because in theory, you've done it. But as actors, our egos are so big, we want it to be better, and we start picking fault with it. Probably the worst thing that you could do is, by all means, do as many takes as you like. But once you start getting into, I'm just going to do another one. I'm just going to do another one because I didn't quite get that. I'm just going to do another one. You start getting into very, very sketchy territory. By all means, if you make a mistake, or if you know I can definitely do a better one, then yeah, crack on. But do not get into the habit of, I'm going to do like 20 and then I'm going to pick my best one, because actually they're just looking for personality. They're looking for character. Do you fit the character brief? But of course, not forgetting that sometimes you won't be given a script. And there are self-tapes where you don't need a monologue, or you don't need a song. And instead, what they will want from you is 90 seconds of you talking, which I do very well, because I can talk forever. But when somebody asks you to talk about yourself for 90 seconds, it feels like the most horrendous thing to have to do, because you start overthinking, like, well, what should I say? And you start to liken a self-tape. You start to liken it to a first date. And you're like, I've got to say the right thing, and I've got to make sure I come across as a little bit funny and a little bit charismatic and a little bit intelligent. All of the things that you think you might need in order to impress somebody. What you need to remember is, a lot of the time I get self-tapes and I don't know the person from Adam. I literally have never seen this person before. And so all you need to do really is just give me a slice. Just give me a little slice of who you are. This isn't therapy. This isn't a chance for you to, open your heart out, or, turn it on the charm and become this character and, hey, I'm dead funny. And actually, it's just about you being really raw and really honest, and about giving us something to chew on. I would say, I hate this phrase, but I am going to use it, as, the whole thing of like less is more. But actually, that can be misconstrued. But it's the idea that you're leaving us wanting more. That's the key. It's about you capturing my imagination, but at the same time going, and if you want to know more, you know where I am. Don't say that. Please don't say that. But it's the idea that is really what you are doing. Tell them something that you can do that a lot of people that can't. Like, I could speak fluent German. Nobody in my sort of immediate circle can speak German, so that puts me at an advantage. I have a daughter. That's an advantage. I can drive. That's an advantage. And so you just need to be able to speak for about 90 seconds. And that is the only time that I would speak directly to camera. So earlier on I said look away, but actually when you're doing a piece about yourself, where you're literally just almost selling yourself, that's where you would look directly into camera. I would possibly still do my profiles. I would still probably do a long shot, full body shot, so you're in frame. But then come back and invite us in. Let us know who you are, what you're about. Why you? Why should I pick you? Why are you different to the next person? And I'm a firm believer that honesty has opened so many doors for me personally. And I have opened doors for other people because of their honesty. The minute you start to try and sell something that really you're not very good at, but you think it's what I want to hear, it won't last long, the relationship that you're about to build with somebody. And they will sniff it out very quickly when they start to talk about something that you have no idea what you're selling. And let's remember that you are selling yourself. doesn't sound very nice when you say it like that, but it's the truth, you know. You're an instrument, and so you have to be able to show us what is on offer. If you were selling cupcakes, you would need to be able to explain the ingredients and show us that it's good. And then when we taste it, we go, oh yeah, it's good cake. Well, as an actor or a performer, a singer, really, you've only got yourself. You have nothing for sale. It's just you. So you've got to be really mindful about which bits you want to promote and which bits you might want to keep back a little. But definitely do not oversell yourself if you are not 100% confident. So here's the thing. I've ridden a horse several times. I actually was starting to get quite good at it. There's no way I would put that on my CV. I used to ice skate when I was a young kid. I was very good. I used to play semi-professional ice hockey. I haven't done that for many years. You've got to keep everything current. So whenever you're selling yourself in a self-tape, I always think if you haven't done something for like 3 years, it's not worth mentioning unless you could pick it up and you're absolutely amazing at it. Similar with credits, like stuff that I did 10 years ago, even though I'm super proud of all of my work and everything that I've been involved in, you know, it's really what I've done in the last 12 months for me, because an actor is only as good as the last job they did, really, because the next job you do could be terrible. And that's what everyone remembers. And you can't then go, yeah, but 3 years ago I was amazing, you know? So for me, any skills that you have you've got to be really, really good. I'm talking like almost advanced, or at the very minimum, you can be very honest and say, I can juggle 3 balls for 20 seconds and make a joke of it. But by no stretch are you a juggler. I think you get the point. So that's selling yourself. Now you've done it, you've filmed it. You've got your lighting right, there's no shadows. One of the things and again, it's all in this document, but one of the big ones for me is do not film where the camera is facing the window, because you will just be silhouetted. It all seems, a lot of what I'm saying, for me, it seems like, well, that's obvious. But trust me, when you get a self-tape come through from Game of Thrones or, you know, something for the BBC, your brain is just totally geared on, I have to make myself look really good. And you make silly mistakes. I've seen it happen time and time and time again. So you're so focused on, can I remember my lines? Am I going to look good? Oh my goodness, I've got a zit on my face, or all the crazy stuff that our ego puts in the way. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to show you some self-tape that I found, because this will help with the next part of what I needed to tell everybody. Okay, this is a good one. This is a good example. So you don't need me to tell you. This is Sam. He's a lot younger here, but he's actually like 18, 19 now. He's one of the most tremendous actors I've ever had the pleasure of working with on an amateur level. It's just the coat. Get rid of the coat. You know, you've gone through all the effort of finding a lovely clear wall. Get rid of the coat, you know. And is there a way of getting rid of that light switch? It doesn't matter. It's not as I say, if you're talented, that wouldn't matter. But I just want to give you the best possible chance. Let's have a little look. I'm only going to play about 30 seconds.
I was killed for the first time. Not on purpose. He ran at me in my home, and I hit him with a fireplace stick thing.
Okay, I'm going to stop there because the issue has already happened. He didn't introduce himself. I don't know who his agent is. I don't know what his name is. I don't know how old he is. I don't know what area he's from, what location he's at. I don't know whether he's auditioning for me or whether he's auditioning for somebody else. Has this been sent to me in error? Why is this guy on my screen? That's the first issue.
With the sharp bit, it wasn't the sharp bit I used, it was just the blunt bit, and then I hit it on the edge, and he went down, and he started bleeding from his head.
The second part is that he's doing two things. He's looking at the camera and he's not looking at the camera. He's doing both, which can be really confusing and quite misleading. And actually just takes me out of the moment. Okay, this is an interesting one.
Hiya, I'm Elizabeth. I'm 32 years old and I'm a lab technician. I live with my cat, Chad.
Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing for a second so you can see me again. So obviously, it's shot beautifully. It's actually a really good camera that she's using. It's crystal clear. It's really, really nice to see. But I just don't think she was confident enough. I don't know who she is. She hasn't told me her agent or where she's from. I know nothing about her other than she's, sorry, because one of the things I must point out, which you wouldn't have known had if I wasn't to tell you, is she's in character. That's not actually her real name. So what she should have done was mentioned who she was, who her agent was, etc., and then be in character. Because now I just automatically think that is who she is. And I immediately think, oh, she's very nervous, but she's actually acting. And that's one of the reasons that I used it, is because to show you that if you just go straight in without all of that beginning bit, the introduction at the start, I'm going to watch that and go, good grief. She has no confidence. I need someone that is super confident and really talented. She's not the right person. And I've already switched off. I'm like 10 seconds in of my busy day and I'm like, I don't have time for this. And I think that's her giving me her self-tape. So you've got to be really mindful of that. I'm going to go back to my screen again. And actually, she's a very talented actress. She's really good. I just want to show you, I think it's this one. Aha, yes. Amy Galilee, a very talented actress that she actually works for me now. She'd hate me for showing you this, by the way. She's got so much better. But let's have a little look at this one.
Hello, my name is Amy Galilee. I'm 21 years of age.
Before I go any further, the top of her head has been chopped off. You might think I'm nitpicking, but when you get a cracking self-tape and you put it against that one, you start to go, I'm disinterested immediately. You've got to get the fundamentals right. Now, this is an actress who I now employ. She's so talented, but this is like 5 years old, maybe 4 years old. And, at that time, she was still super talented, but terrible at doing self-tapes. Then you look at the room she's in and you go, good grief, that is some heavy flowerage. And already I've disengaged because I've already seen several things that I'm just not feeling. But
From
very
Middlesbrough,
talented.
which is in the northeast of England, and I'm represented by DJW Talent.
That's the other thing. I just wanted to, I'm going to play it one more time. Something that it just grinds on me. Just listen to the intonation. Just listen to her voice.
Hello, my name is Amy Galilee. I'm 21 years of age. I'm from Middlesbrough, which is in the northeast of England, and I'm represented by DJW Talent.
Okay, I think she's about to do profiles. She is, but I can't see her profiles. I can't see her profiles because she's chopped her head off.
I will be performing a monologue by August Strindberg entitled Easter, where I will be playing the character Eleanor.
And I don't know whether you've picked up already, she's speaking in an American accent. Not very well, but she's, you know, I'll give it to her. She's done very well to at least attempt it. But when you do your introduction, always in your own accent. Once you start performing, go wild. Do any accent you like. However, I am of the opinion, and I share this with many casting directors, if they are looking for a Scottish actress, they will go for a Scottish actress, not someone that can do a Scottish accent. If they're looking for a northeast guy with big ears and a bald head and who's a bit fat, they're going to come to me. They're not going to go to somebody that can pretend to be northern and they can put things behind his ears to make his ears look bigger. They're going to come to me. So always do your introduction in your accent. Personally, I would always do the monologue, the duologue, or the reading, or whatever it is that you're performing in your own monologue too, in your own accent too. However, if you're mixing it up or they've asked you specifically to do that, then by all means. So this is an interesting one. Annabelle, incredibly talented. She was with me for 5 years. She's just a baby here. She's much older now. She's gone off. She's working at the Brit School, studying at the Brit School, sorry. 6 minutes 15, quite a long self-tape. Arguably, I'd be looking for a self-tape to be no longer than 3 to 4 minutes. But let's have a look, see what Annabelle does.
Hi, my name is Annabelle Gray. I'm 15 years old and I'm represented by DJW Talent.
Oh, I'll carry on. So that was your fantastic introduction. She gave you a long shot. She didn't do profiles, but that doesn't matter. We're about to see her profiles in this next section anyway.
To blend, I'm using the Soft Tones Sponge Blender. Hey, my stars! Why do you keep interrupting people when they're vlogging?
And can you see how she's not looking in the camera when she's performing? So that's great.
Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
And the reason I wouldn't have a self-tape lasting too much longer is because really, what else are we going to see other than what she's already given? If she's going to do another take, yeah, maybe you could give us another take, but you do not need 6 minutes worth. But then obviously she's done a really good, nice job here of putting her name, DJW Talent, so there's no way of her getting mistaken when the casting directors get her tape. So the other thing, this leads me on really nicely. You'll notice how they all have writing here. This is one of the most important things when you get to this stage in the process. So at the moment, I don't know who that self-tape belongs to, the one at the top. I will only know when I click on it and press play.
Hi, Sarah.
So she's acting, she hasn't introduced herself. She's filmed it in her bedroom. I appreciate she's tried to find a background like this, but when you start filming in your bedroom and it's on your bed, it starts to get a little bit personal. Always avoid filming in your bedroom wherever possible. The last thing you want is laundry or anything kicking about that you don't want people to know. You might have a little picture on your wall, you know, of your niece or nephew. Then you start getting into a whole host of problems. Because remember, once you've sent this self-tape and it goes off into the world of the internet, it's out there. It's out there forever. And you start getting into all sorts of GDPR problems, which I won't bore you with today, but just be mindful, guarding other people. You know, you might have a picture on there of your boyfriend, and then 10 years later, you're on the Graham Norton show and they go, oh, we're going to show you a self-tape that you once did when 10 years ago before you made it. And then they show that self-tape and you're now with somebody new and there's a picture of your ex in the background. Just a note. I have known it to happen, but not quite the Graham Norton show. So one of the most important things here is you've got to change it. You've got to change the name. So this is Millie, and she's DJW Talent, and then let's assume she's reading for BBC doctors. Now we have really easy to find. So the casting director's like, where's that Millie girl? Millie. There she is there, dead easy. Whereas if she was this person here, and they have, please don't forget, these casting directors might see hundreds, if not thousands of self-tapes every single week. We don't necessarily see thousands a week, but I would say I get sent hundreds a week. So we have a team that look after the self-tape side of things. So you've got Millie here, and you've got this person here. We don't know who it is. I'm just going to show you a really bad one. Remember,
hello, my name is Susan Bennett.
Remember what I said to you about landscape? This is a perfect example of why you should do landscape.
Hello, my name is Susan Bennett. I'm 45 years old. I'm represented by DJW Talent. Here's my monologue. I saved my pocket money for 3 weeks. You've got to try and break it up a little. She's a lovely woman. Don't get me wrong. She's a sweetheart. But I don't know whether you could tell, but she literally did it. And then, do you think? I don't know, but do you think maybe she was reading from a script? Just maybe. That was just slightly off center. Never do a self-tape like that. I'm going to keep sharing my screen because there's something else I want to show you.
Do you think it's really important then for people to learn it as well, learn it off by heart?
Honestly, yeah, it's so important. And I say this quite. I don't mean to disrespect anybody. I genuinely hope this doesn't come across like I am. But my 4-year-old girl, she can recite children's stories off by heart, and if an actor or a performer who is desperate to be working in the industry hasn't had the audacity to work before they've even come in the room, I've got to start questioning how much do they want it. How much, if I got a job come through now, and this does happen, a job comes through now and it's for tomorrow. I've got to send a self-tape in for tomorrow. And I look at it and I'm like, there's 3 pages. And not only that, I have a life to live. I have my 4-year-old girl to pick up. I have my partner who wants me to decorate the front room. I have a dog that needs walking. Suddenly you go, well, okay, just slow down a minute. How much do you want it? And how much value is this? And then you go, okay, I'm going to make it work. And you have to make sacrifices. There are times, slightly different now, of course, because of COVID, but there are times when I've had a phone call at 4:45 saying, you've got an audition at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning in London. And I'm like, okay, but let's just go back to the self-tape thing. I can assure you I'm fully clothed, but you could just be sat here in your underpants and just reading from a script. And it's not work. Anybody can do that. Anybody can read. So I'm quite particular about that. If I'm honest, I always think no, you haven't worked. And there's a great quote from Dr. Samuel Johnson. I actually posted this on Twitter a little while ago. And it's like, those that have no passion in writing often don't get a passionate read. It's not that, I'm totally paraphrasing, but it's like, It's the idea that if you're not passionate about working hard, I'm working all of the time. And the minute I think, oh, you can't be bothered, I can't be bothered either. Because guess what? I actually have a life too. And so, yeah, I just think like, and here's the thing, if you can't do it, nobody is going to hunt you down and string you up. You just have to respectfully decline. And it will kill you because you're like, Game of Thrones, what? Like, I've got to do this, but I can't because X, Y, and Z. But sometimes it just wasn't for you. The timing wasn't right. If you wanted to try and bluff your way through, I personally wouldn't, because I couldn't live with myself. Then you crack on. But if you get caught, you'll get blacklisted. They'll just be like, this guy's trying to pull the wool over my eyes, or this girl is trying to pull the wool over my eyes. I actually have a story about Game of Thrones when I had one of my students up for a role, and they had to do a self-tape, and they last minute, like an hour before, I was like, where is your self-tape? Where is it? And they were like, I totally forgot. Honestly, I've heard everything. Just when I think the industry couldn't shock me anymore, something else comes in. And I feel like if an opportunity presents itself, you have two choices. You either go for it and you work really hard at the risk of being rejected, or you take control of the situation and know that the reason you haven't got the job is because you were in control and you said no. I'd rather that. I'd rather be in control of my future and my destiny than put a falsehood in front of a casting director and they choose for me. And they also go, that was DJW Talent actor. Yeah, strike him off. They're wasting my time. Yeah. The industry is so quick. It's so fast.
It's really interesting, actually, all of this stuff, because it's interesting because I can kind of see it. And so for our eager watchers, I'm sure when this goes out, is that there's kind of two ways you can read this, because you think you can absolutely, everything you're saying is for professional casting directors, which I think will be amazingly helpful for some of our final year students going either to drama schools or for seeking representation, because we know we do get casting things through. We had one from The Crown actually a couple of months ago. And, and it's all about just kind of, giving yourself the best possible option. But I've just a couple of observations, and they're just more like Durham specific-y things. So obviously if you're listening to this video and you're wanting to apply as a singer to a chamber choir, or if you're an actor for a thing, again, you can say your age, and if you're represented, you might be represented before you get Durham, in which way, great. But actually that information is still really relevant. So saying your degree, saying your college, saying where you're staying, saying what year you're in as well. Like all of these things are still useful. You don't have to give us, the name of your pet dog or anything, or your physical address. But actually those signposts are actually just good for us to get to know you a little bit more. And again, thinking of the kind of show yourself in that kind of 90-minute clip, and you're talking about if you're talking, how does that work? It kind of got me thinking about, again, musicians, and about if you're a singer, or if you're going for a choir piece, obviously pick the piece that's suitable, but show yourself off as well. Show something that really speaks to you and that shows you off in the best way and is a quality piece, but also reflects you, because it's not face to face. Those are all things that we are now barriers that you now need to come across. They're just a couple of things that's kind of sprung to mind while you were talking. Anyway. Yeah,
there's actually something else that I haven't said yet, and again, if you forget, it doesn't really matter. But playing age is also quite a thing. So, like, my actual age is very different to my playing age. So I've just finished working on BBC's Make Me Famous, and I know the director very, very well. And Tom Brittany, who's the lead, is now a very good friend of mine, and we stay in touch, and we're chatting away. And we were having a Zoom with the entire cast and crew, and someone just turned around and said, talking about age, and they were like, yeah, but like, how are you, Dan? Like, you're in your 50s. And I went, what? I'm 35. I'm not in my 50s. And it was just this whole, like, incredibly hilarious, but at the same time, quite eye-opening that somebody had genuinely thought I was in my 50s. And I couldn't care less what anybody thought about how old I am. But actually it allowed me to reevaluate how people perceive me, because how you perceive yourself is very, very different to how others perceive you. And I actually, I'm a major, I talk about this with my clients and my students all of the time, that like, there's like the professional you, and then there's like what I call like the pot noodle you. I actually hate pot noodles, but it's an example. I always say, like, you know, when people say, just be yourself, it's actually the worst thing you could possibly say to anybody at an audition. Because in theory, be yourself, but just a little, just a slice of yourself. Because if I was to be myself, you know, and I joke when I say it, but sat there in my underpants watching TV, eating a pot noodle, like, no one wants to see that. Not even my partner wants to see that. So in a way, like when people say be yourself, I always go, oh, just be careful with that. Because, you know, because you think, oh, I'm the funny one at school or at university, or I'm the funny one in my gang, and I'm like the radical, weird, wild, so I'm going to go in there and give them that version. And they're sat there going, it's not quite what we're after. We want someone that fits the brief. And in a way, what I would say is that if you are given a brief, if you're lucky enough to be given a brief, you almost need to go in there almost fitting the brief, if I'm honest. So like even hi, my name's Daniel John Williams, I'm representative, that it almost has to be like in alignment with the brief that you've been sent, the character you've been sent. If it's like, oh, he's like a total comedian, he's like, you know, he's a lad, I might go, hi, my name's Daniel John Williams and I'm represented by DJW, and it just sort of like give it a bit more flair. These self-tapes, you have the beauty of record and stop and delete. But don't get into that horrible mess of 10 takes later, 20 takes later. But just look at what are you selling? That is the most important. Why am I even doing this? You wouldn't go on a date with somebody that you're not interested in. I mean, some might, I wouldn't. So you've got to ask yourself, okay, I'm doing this self-tape for this person. Why? Why am I doing it? It's like, well, because they have an offer for a Channel 4 job. You go, yeah, I want that. I really, like, I don't do panto. Like, I've never done panto. I don't particularly like panto. So if a job comes through and they're asking me to do panto, I don't do panto. So I wouldn't do a self-tape for panto. That's it, problem gone. It's the same as, and I won't say which television shows, but there are certain television shows that I've been asked to self-tape for and I've declined. And some people have said, you're a fool. You're absolutely mental for doing that. I don't want to do it. So like, I looked at the brief and I was like, oh, I don't fit that brief. Like my makeup and my insides and my spirit doesn't fit that. Does that make sense? I'm slightly waffling, but
yeah, no, it's interesting though. It's really interesting. Again, it's just kind of like, I think you hit it on the head. It's with that really interesting phrase of be yourself, but not too much of yourself, and to kind of tweaking yourself to being that. I think that's actually really interesting.
Yeah. I think that goes for life, actually.
I think like interviews as well. You know, if there's for example like an interview for a director or an interview for a producer, if you're an incredibly organized producer, show that. Do you know what I mean? And be confident to start with, even if sometimes you don't feel confident because you're nervous. It's like present the best of yourself. I think it's really nice.
It's like the heightened version of yourself. But there's also, and this is going right back to what I said at the beginning, and I'm going to slightly contradict myself. When I was like, being honest is the best policy. It has opened so many doors for me, and when someone's been honest with me, I've just opened the door wide open and said, come on in. But there's a risk with that as well, of course, because I don't want your truth. The pot noodle truth is what we call it. But if you're a little nervous, that's okay. I was a little nervous 8 minutes before I started talking. It's just not, it's human. And I think when someone comes in and they're all like, yeah, like I've got this, no one likes the swag, like this, nobody, like unless it is absolutely imperative to the brief. And so I think for me, like when I say be honest, it's like, I can't change who I am. This is who I am. I just hope you like me. And if you're a bit terrible at self-tapes, I don't care. Say it. This is my self-tape. I hope you like it. I hate doing them. I'm not going to go, oh, he hates doing them. As long as you have tried and you have, you know, all the bullet points that I've just given you, they're like really standard bullet points. So if you've at least done your best to make sure that the camera's got a good angle, you've got good lighting, and you've presented yourself well, you don't have to be good at self-tapes. You don't. I just don't want people selling something that they can't sustain, because there's somebody out there that can sustain it, and they're better for the job, and that's okay. And I think that's where you start to appreciate rejection more, and you start looking at rejection in a completely different light, because you go, oh, I'm not being rejected. They're just accepting somebody else. They're just not accepting me. It's not a rejection as such. It's just somebody else was better suited to the role.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's certainly the case. Well, especially with drama, but I mean, to a certain extent with music as well. You know, especially if you're going for a unique ensemble, it's not that you haven't got a great voice very often. It might be that your voice just doesn't blend in the same way with the other voices. And I think it's it's not a one size fits all. You know, there's not a 10 out of 10 person that you can be. It's all about it's the arts, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's
yeah, and in a way, it's partly why, I mean, for anyone that's watching the news, you know, all the politicians are saying that performers and artists are like low skilled, yada yada yada, and people are up in arms about it. And do you know what? Like, I sort of agree in a way. Like, I'm not, you know, it's my industry. I love it. I've been an actor since I was 8. I've been doing this forever. And I think the arts deserve way more recognition. And, you know, but I do understand. It's not like maths, and it's not like science, where actually there is a definite outcome. 2 + 2 =, you know. With the arts, it's very subjective. And you know, one day I love cheese and onion crisps, and another days I'm like, oh gosh, no, I need salt and vinegar. It's exactly the same with when you meet people. There's a guy that I know, I won't say who he is. He's a lovely guy, but after 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, he's a lot. But then there are other days where actually he says something and I go, oh, tell me more. And you might be the most talented singer, the most talented dancer, but on that day, do you know what? I've had a row with my partner. I've just lost a deal. I just lost a contract with one of my clients. My dog's not very well. My little girl's fell over at school. I'm having a terrible day. And you just don't quite fit the groove on that day. I can't tell you the amount of times. And then a year later, I've met actors and been like, goodness me, are you looking for representation? And they're like, oh no, we actually came to you a year ago and you said no. And I go, I wonder why I said no. I always think that. I always think, like, a year ago you came to me and I said no, but today I'm watching you going, I'd sign you immediately. And I can't help but go, it was me. It had nothing to do with the performer. It was how I was accepting that. So I told you I could talk for England. I'm going to try and wrap.
I'm very conscious. Should we talk a little bit more about the uploading process? So you've gone through amazing detail on those videos. I think were incredibly helpful. So yeah, back to you, back to self-tapes.
I know, I can literally talk for England. Okay, so let's do this. So there are 2 ways that, can you still see me, by the way, or can you only see my screen?
Yep, can see you. Okay,
cool. I just don't want to pick my nose and get caught. No, I'm joking. Okay, so Vimeo. This is how I do it. So you can go on Vimeo and you can create an account. It's free to do. You can pay for it. I do, because I use it all of the time. And you just literally type in Vimeo. We are actually DJW Talent Vimeo. So you click on here. It's like super, super easy, super easy. So these are all the videos that we have on here. There's loads and loads. You should check this film out. It's doing really well. And you go to manage videos. It's so easy, guys. Like my videos. Okay, so there they all are there. You go top right. Can you all see that? Top right. New video. Upload. And again, I'm doing this on my computer. So it's slightly different on your mobile phones, but not entirely different. It's actually a very similar process, but slightly different. So we go here, we got Millie Merriweather. Remember that earlier? I've renamed it, so we're all good to go. I shouldn't really use this one, only because she didn't do an introduction, but it doesn't matter. You grab hold of it so you can move it around. Drop anywhere on the screen, anywhere. So let's do there. And now it's uploading. It really is that simple to upload to Vimeo. However, there are a couple of things that you need to take into consideration when doing the next part. I'm actually going to cancel that because it will just slow down my internet. But then you get onto, you have to then obviously title everything. Again, Millie, DJW Talent, BBC Doctors. Oh, missed out the C. A little description. In the description box, I would just put your agent's contact details or your school's details. Or if you have neither of those, your own. This bit here, privacy. Only I can see this video. Now, it's not letting me at the moment, but I'm going to show you another example. If I go to another video, let's pretend that Millie's video has just uploaded successfully. And we go to, let's go to Vinnie Jones. Oh, my internet's really slow. It's because I've just started uploading. That's why. Okay, so you get to like a little screen here. Oh, come on. This shouldn't be this slow. Okay, so you've got here Vinnie Jones supports DJW Talent. Not to be used for blah blah blah. That's fine. Your thumbnail is really important. See the way Vinnie's face? He's got like a crooked mouth, his eyes are sort of closed. You would go to edit thumbnail, select from video.
Hey guys, I'm Vinnie Jones and I'm proud to be a patron of the Daniel John Williams School of Acting.
That's a slightly better image of his face. So I would select this frame and you can see it uploading here. Now, this is no longer in use, but this one is. So if you've got a nice shot of you at the very beginning of your self-tape, use that as your display image. Now, here's the thing. We've got a little password on here, DJW Vinnie. So who can watch it? Only people with the password. He's no longer a patron of ours, so we don't want that on our site anymore. But you can do, if you want anybody to be able to see it. So if you're sending it to a casting director, you can put it on anyone so that they can share it in the office or between casting directors, producers, directors, or people with the password. I wouldn't really do any other. I would only do anyone or people with a password. Got to be careful with anyone, just because then, I mean, if someone had the password and you could still share it, but it's just gives you that little bit of protection. And as you can see, we recently re-uploaded this, and if you can see here, it's had no views. But if you sent it to a casting director, you can always check. So you go, it's been viewed 3 times. That probably means the casting director has seen it, the producer has seen it, and possibly the director. If it's only been seen 1 time, it's likely that they've all watched it together, or they have downloaded it, which you can see here. There's a little download button. So say this was Millie's and it came through to me. I could press download, and I'll do it now. I'll just pick a really simple one. I don't want to do that. It's because I'm on Zoom. So what would happen is that would download and it would come up here into this bit, and then I would have it. The only problem is you can only have the download option if you pay for your Vimeo. I can't remember exactly how much it is. It might be £100 for the year. Arguably, it's worth it because going to London might cost you £200. So if you've got Vimeo and you pay £100, you can upload as many self-tapes as you like, and you're still going to save money. After every single self-tape, you are saving £100 minimum every single time. So I think it's totally worth it. Who can comment? I normally put no one. People who can download this video, obviously I've got it on, but you can turn it off. Make sure it is on, because what tends to happen is the casting director will get the video, they will download it, and then they will just have, like I have here, a load of different people. But when they download it, the name, Millie, DJW Talent, or it'll come out as that. Don't let the casting director do the work for you, because, and I've worked with casting directors, I've worked with agents before I ran my own company. People will just do this. They'll go, he hasn't got a name on it, we haven't got time, move to trash, gone. That's it, you're gone. They haven't got time. They deal with that many. They are not going to sit there and rename 300 videos. So if you haven't done it, if you haven't done the hard work for them, you might have just missed out on a chance to be seen by the casting department. So I'm going to leave this page because there's another way to do it. And this is, again, so easy. And you can do it on your mobile phones as well. We go here, we type in we transfer. Super, super easy. It's just taking a minute. Apologies. You don't need any of the, you don't have to pay for anything unless your files are whoppers. And remember, if you're sending a whop file, be mindful that the casting director then has to download it. And if they have to download a whopping file, it slows their internet down. They might have 3 or 4 or 500 videos to download. So this is why it's better to keep the videos a lot shorter. So email to, let's do Daniel, with an L, Daniel at djwtalent.co.uk. So that's the email you're sending your self-tape to, or it's the casting direct email. Use our other email. Yes, that's fine. So it's going to Daniel from info at, and then you go, hello Daniel, I am great, or whatever. You obviously know not to write that. I'm just doing it for speed. And then you go and you grab, just going to put that there a second. You go and you grab Amy Galilee, you drag, drop it like it's hot, anywhere you like, and there it is there. So it's landed. So then all you do, hi Daniel, I am great, love Daniel. Never put love Daniel or kisses. And then you literally just press transfer and off it goes. So it's now sent me a verification code. It does do this sometimes. It doesn't always do it though, I must say. And then you get the verification code. I can do it if you want me to, but sort of pointless. I'm going to cancel that. You get your verification code. It'll be like 6 numbers. You type in your 6 numbers. It's just because it's taking ages. I'm very mindful of time. You type your numbers in. You verify, and then it sends, and off it goes. The reason I really like the reason I really like using WeTransfer is because when the other person downloads it at their end, you get an email to notify you. So I'm a bit like, oh, okay, they don't need to send me an email to tell me they've got it. I know they've got it. And then the waiting game is on. Whereas when they download it from your Vimeo, you don't get a notification. You can see that people have seen it, but you can't sort of track, because they might just get the link, open it and download it without viewing it, of course. So it's up to you how you want to play that.
Yeah, really useful, really, really useful. Because I mean, obviously you could do the same thing as like Vimeo, you could use YouTube as well, but again, it's got the make sure you send it unlisted, don't make it public, you know, it's the same kind of top tips in that sense, and make sure you send a private link. And again, there is also, just for any kind of students watching, you've also got a OneDrive as well, so you can upload to your OneDrive and then share a link, but again with a password. And that's quite good, because if, and please don't send 10-minute clips or something, because like Daniel said earlier, they do need to be preferably shorter, and they shouldn't be huge files. But if for whatever reason you are uploading a whole play, if you've been asked to do that, you have got a huge amount of space on your OneDrive again, and that might be an easy way of transferring files, although it won't tell you if they've accessed it, so that's just something to bear in mind.
I'm just going to jump on the back of what you've just said there. This is only in my guide. We put that we do not accept Dropbox, Google Drive, WhatsApp, or emailing of files. The biggest reason for it is because it clogs up our Dropbox that we use for our business. And what I found with Dropbox, as much as it's a fantastic tool, I know you didn't mention it, but I'm mentioning it because people have tried to send me stuff in the past. 10 years later, there's little videos, and I go, who is this? Whereas when it's sent in via WeTransfer or by Vimeo, it's much easier to go, that's the project. And you just create a little folder, the casting directors go, bosh. But some do accept Google Drive, some do accept Dropbox, some accept WhatsApp. I mean, I wouldn't ever dream of doing that, but it's entirely up to you. And again, play around on your mobile phones. Download Vimeo, download the app WeTransfer, because it's even simpler than what I've just done for WeTransfer, because you have a WeTransfer, it's called a board, a WeTransfer board. And what happens is you because you've already filmed it on your mobile phone, you download WeTransfer, you upload it to the WeTransfer board, and then what you do is you just send me or whoever it is a link. So then you're not actually sending them a big heavy file, you're sending them a link, which then goes into your WeTransfer board, and then I can download it at my leisure, but you don't get a notification on that one. So be very mindful of that. Yeah. And I just think, if there's like a couple of friends and you're all living together, or you know people that live in the flat next door or house next door, just say, hey, I'm going to send you a video tonight, do you mind? And just send it to the videos to see if you can do it, because I've just showed you how to do it on a Mac. I didn't show you how to do it on a little phone, but it works just as easy. And I promise, I know I've talked a lot. It's exactly the same with this. Exactly the same. You shoot, you put a cable in, just make sure it's the right cable that fits. This is already plugged into my Mac. I plug it in, I upload onto my Mac, and then it's the same process again. Rename, upload, send. And one of the other things that I've just bought quite recently, which I use all of the time, is one of these. I think it was like £8. So if you get Vimeo, £100, you get one of these, £8. A little tripod that I showed you, £15, £20 maximum. You're still saving money, and now you've got kit to go and do stuff with. And the beauty with this is it's like a Steadicam.
Yeah,
so when
they are really great, actually.
They're amazing. Yeah. You know, and you can do, you know, because it sort of bends. You can do all sorts with that. And like I say, with this one, it's the same thing. It's for you can do.
And I think as well, it's worth saying again, because I'm just very conscious of you know, like musicians as well that are kind of, you know, doing a self tape as well, because obviously it's, or, you know, violin and things. you could probably get away with not showing yourself and just doing an audio clip. But again, if we don't, then we will struggle to verify it. And so I would really recommend following everything Donna said for whatever level you're looking at. I'm very conscious that some of this information is perfect. People sending off tapes for agencies and sending off tapes as you're graduating. But, you know, if you're a fresher coming into this, I mean, it's still worth seeing you rather than, you know, previous clips of yourself. Don't send your school's concerts that, you know, you did way back when. You know, take the time and see and record yourself. I think as well, just really quickly on like CVs and stuff, because I'm very conscious sometimes, you know, people will want to talk about their previous experience. Durham specific stuff is great. If you've done something in Durham before, tell us what company, tell us what year, tell us, and that's especially for obviously second and third years and fourth years. If you were in your school, it's exactly what, you know, Daniel said earlier about relevance. If you were in your school play years ago and you haven't done anything since because of A-levels, and you want to do something again, it's not relevant. Just don't bother saying that you were in that show, because I don't know if you were any good in that show. I didn't see that show. I got no verification of that show. Unless it's something like your grades at Lambda or something I can physically verify as a skill. I mean, don't bother would be my polite way of saying. It's not that it's not valuable, but it's not helpful for me as a director to help pick. I think that's
agreed. And I'm going to jump on the back of that again, because, you know, for example, you put Durham on your CV, right? So you've got like 10 credits, and that's wonderful, and you've got to keep that because that is the core of who you are. As you move on into your professional career, every time you get a new credit that is like a television credit or a professional theatre credit, television, whatever, you knock off the top one. You just keep knocking them off until they're in the past, and then your BBC doctor's job becomes the past because you've just done something for ITV, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and you just sort of, I mean, you know what, like, if you want to keep a really long CV for yourself, that's fine. But when you're applying for work, if you can show, I was in a role, and I think it would be perfect for this character, I'd like to show you, that's different. And it might not even say it on your CV, but you've got a clip of you playing a character that is similar to the character that you've been asked through the brief. Then send it. Let me see that, even if it was 8 years ago, because at least I can go, oh, he's got or she's got the emotional palette to be able to do that. Similar with singers. I know I'm quite heavy on the actor front. That's just because that's my area of expertise. But it's the same with singing. You know, your voice will mature as you go on, and you'll get better, and your instrument becomes more valuable. But if you think you can show me something that you did a long time ago, but it's not on your CV, yeah, that's fine. And I just want to say one last thing. I'm so sorry. Do you know, we were talking about like a musician, how do you verify it? I think you do the self-tape as we discussed, and then just zoom in to the intricate work, actually, because there's nothing more spellbinding for me watching a musician, because I can't play any musical instrument, and I have a piano in my front room, and I have a guitar in my bedroom. I can't play it. But watching somebody create music, let me in. Let me see what you're doing. Like, let me see that work. So as long as I know it's definitely you, because you've introduced yourself and you're still wearing the same clothes when you're doing the piano, I don't need to see your face. I'd love to see that, the detail of that.
And that technique as well will be really interesting, especially if it's, you know, and that might make the difference between you being the first violin and not, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't say how brilliant this has been, and incredibly informative. Honestly, I feel like I've learnt loads, but I feel like it's really applicable skills, and it's just been, I've had a great afternoon. So thank you so much.
Very good. No, absolutely. And I think I just want to reiterate again, like, if you want to do it where they send you the self-tape so that there's no crossover, or it doesn't matter. I'm available for people to send me a self-tape. One, to say, congratulations, you now know how to do it. And then two, for me to give you some feedback. I haven't got a problem with that. But if you want to do it in-house, you don't have to contact me. You know, I am super busy, but I would do that. And I think partly because this is not a live Zoom anymore, but at the same time, I just feel like I want to be able to offer the support to you, but to your extended audience that, you know, it would be terrible to have like 500 submissions, of course, but just send it to each other. Like, just get used to doing it and give each other feedback based on the PDF that I'm going to send.
And as you said, it's not going anywhere. And actually, all of this it was something that we've never done before at the university. But actually, for kind of second and third years, might be going, well, why should I bother? Why not wait until auditions happen in person? But this is really how casting happens in the industry. And also, it's something that we just should do in terms of accessibility anyway. If you're going to run in-person auditions, you also should run them online, because what if someone's at a funeral that day? What if someone's out and about? What if someone's ill? What if someone's looking after someone? You know, for accessibility reasons, you also should now always, in my opinion, do an online one if you're also going to do one in person.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I do know, I've never even thought of that. Yeah, it's a very valid point. We do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. And I just think if you're one step ahead every time, you can't get caught out. At the very minimum, say the trains get delayed because you're meant to be going for a face-to-face and you're like, I can't make it. But now you know how to do self-tape. Yeah, it's a very valid point. Yeah, I like that. I think that's very good.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for everything. Really, really appreciate it.